Ooh. That's new. Okay. Close enough to 6:30. We'll open this meeting of the Ashburnham Conservation Commission in accordance with Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Ashburnham Wetlands Protection Bylaw. Up first is the continuation of the public hearing for a notice of intent for Lot 3 Ashby Road. Proposed single-family house within the buffer zone of bordering vegetated wetlands. Paul, you are here, I see. We received, oh, there she goes. Awesome, thank you. We received this revised plan in response to the previous hearing on May 10th, at which I commented on the potential occurrence of wetlands near the proposed well, which I didn't know at the time were either on site or off site, but per the revised plan, it shows that the wetlands that I was thinking of actually were off site. But nonetheless, the buffer zone thereof extended onto the site. I will say also that we had requested at the May 10th hearing that a professional wetland scientist review the wetlands, which may have extended in fact onto the site. My understanding is that request was not honored. Paul, you can confirm if that's true.
I called a guy that we often use and haven't gotten any response. So I went out there myself to see what the situation was, because I never saw that spot before. So
okay,
I flagged it, I located it. I mean, if you know, we can get, if I can get somebody out there to have it, and also take a look at it, I will, but it's clearly an isolated land subject to flooding.
Well, I'm not sure that it actually meets that definition, I think, as you said in your letter. But to the north of that rather rectangular looking wetland, there's additional wetland vegetation. And again, I think the next time this happens, you know, we're just going to have to continue things. I realize the area is not very large, but you know, I don't know what to say. It's my concern was, you know, whether the well in fact was located in the wetland, and you know, without knowing for sure. I think it's outside based on my observations, but again, in the future, it would have been helpful if that area had been more thoroughly investigated. Anyway, I do appreciate the fact that the house was relocated. My only other comment actually pertains to one that Chris had at the last meeting, and that is, which he expressed to your colleague Trevor, that would it be possible to pull back the siltation controls where they are now closest to the wetland via the construction of a retaining wall that was sort of formally proposed in that area in order to expand the buffer zone?
Yeah, that could be done. Trevor didn't actually mention that to me.
Chris, do you remember that?
Yeah, I was actually looking at the notes from last meeting, which reminded me of that Trevor had said he originally was thinking about a little retaining wall there, and then in the plans he got rid of the retaining wall. But he was saying it would be easy to go back to that because then you could have the no disturbance zone just farther away from the wetland. Just sort of take that current erosion control line and run it up so it's more of a kind of cutting across where it says 1100 or so, a little closer to that.
Yeah, it's as I look at the plan, it's right now the erosion controls kind of parallel the 1106, 1108 contours. And I think what we had talked about is maybe flattening that that area so as to pull the erosion controls back. Yeah, and right in that area. Yeah. My understanding is it wouldn't be a huge retaining wall, just something that would temper the grades a little bit in that area.
Sure. Yeah. That can be done.
I think, otherwise, I mean, the house, the septic system, I understand it's not a big deal. But what I'd like to do is just continue it for the 2 weeks. I'm sure we'll be able to solve everything by that time. If you can get somebody out there to look at those additional wetlands, potential
I'm
wetlands.
going to try somebody else. Yeah, I will. I'll do that.
And then see what you can do about flattening those, bringing those hay bales back a little bit, or whatever the erosion controls back towards the house, right in that vicinity. Again, we're not looking for, major walls, but I think something could be done to,
Get that bulge out of there.
get the bulge out. That's right.
Yeah.
So, okay, good. I mean, that's the extent of my comments. Anybody else? No, I mean, that'll be good. Again, I should say, just for the record, and I think maybe I did in the past, but I did go out there. I looked at the wetland, and there's no evidence of amphibian breeding or anything in the wetland. So it's and I do acknowledge that the bulldozing activity that I had referenced before probably occurred on the adjacent lot and not on this lot. But nonetheless, given that it's probably within 100 feet of the isolated wetland area that you've shown, that activity should cease until this whole matter is addressed. Okay, so Paul, with your approval, we'll continue the public hearing until June 14th at 6:35.
35. You said the 14th? No.
I believe. Yes, it's the second Monday. Yes, the 14th.
All right. Very good.
6:35. And if you have a chance to, revise the plan, send me a copy whenever it's available, and we'll go from there.
All right. Very
Okay,
good.
Paul, thank you very much.
All
Appreciate
right.
it. Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. Next, we have a request for determination for 151 Tuckerman Road filed by Northland Realty Trust for a proposed hang on, proposed well. Let me just check this. No.
I think what Rich means by it, it says for a single family, a proposed well and for a single family home. There's also a new home, I think, but only the well is within the 200-foot riverfront.
Ah, okay, all right. Yes, okay. As I look at the plan that you have now posted, you're right. There's a proposed house, garage, septic system, all of which are outside. Apparently the 200-foot riverfront area, and it's the well that is located within the area, within the outer riparian zone. Which, you know, per the plan will be protected by proposed erosion controls on all sides. So any questions, comments, concerns?
Could I just ask, is anybody here for this, for the minutes? I just want to include anybody who's attending for this hearing. Are the engineers here, or
Good point. I don't know.
looks like nobody is representing the applicants, right?
Angel, are you there? I guess not. Well, at least based on face value, I don't see any particular issues. So unless somebody else does, I will make a motion to first close the public hearing for 151 Tuckerman Road.
Second,
All in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Spiconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Awesome. And then I will then make a motion to issue a determination of applicability, a negative determination indicating that although it's in the resource area, there will be no impacts there too.
Second,
All in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Spiconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Oh, I'm moving along now. Okay, next is another RDA from Northland Engineers for 54 Winding Cove Road, which is sewage disposal system by repair of the sewage disposal system. The area is currently lawn between the house and garage, and there is a proposed siltation barrier to be installed in conjunction therewith. So, which is shown on the plan, which you have right there. So it's about 65 feet from Sunset Lake, although the grading will extend somewhat closer, but apparently the area is existing lawn at the moment. So it will be maybe 35 feet or so from the lake. Okay. All right. Any comments on this? I mean, it looks like the siltation barrier is that weaving line. So the other must be an existing stone wall, is my guess. So anyway, the entire construction area is within the control. So
Hey, Marshall,
yes,
is there a reason why the gas tank is buried? Is that like fuel gas tank or is that heating fuel tank?
oh, buried gas tank. I have no idea what that is, but it must be an existing.
Hello?
Hello,
It's a buried propane tank.
and who do we have the pleasure of speaking with?
Mike Perry, I'm the property owner.
Mike. Okay. Mike. Yes, that's an existing buried tank.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Just didn't want to have any issues with propane.
Okay. So other than that, any other? I mean, it clearly the tank is not, going to be disturbed.
Right.
And the assumption is it looks like, if I can read this, a failed tank. So, which will be, abandoned. And the new tank is located a little closer to the lake right there. Yep.
So is the old field underneath the new field? Are they on the same spot?
No permit. That's a good point. I have no idea. Mike, do you know where the existing septic system is located?
Somewhat. It's in the same area. It's gonna be replaced.
Existing field failed. So I guess what they're going to do is retrofit isn't the right word, or refurbish probably isn't either, but probably dig it all out
Yes,
and replace it with appropriate new material.
yes. It's on there. It's at the top of that plan. With the baffles they're gonna do. Yeah, right there.
Okay. Okay. All right. So that's yeah. And if you look at the notes on the left-hand side, talks about number 11, removing all topsoil and subsoil beneath and within 5 feet of the leach bed, and replace with clean, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to basically reconstruct the septic system. So, as such, I have no comments at this point. Anybody else? Okay. Then I'll make a motion to close the public hearing for 54 Winding Cove Road.
Second,
All in favor? Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, I.
Chris Spiconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
All right, and make a motion to issue a determination of applicability. a negative determination indicating that it's within the buffer zone and will have no impact on any resource area.
Second,
All in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, I.
Chris Piconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
That'll do it. Mike, thank you for being present. And we will issue the determination probably later this week. So you should have it shortly. All right, moving right along. Next up is a notice of intent for 47 Lakeshore Drive.
Hey, thank you, sir. I got bumped out there for a minute and took me a while to get back in, but thank you guys for your time.
Not a problem. You're all set. We'll, as I said, we'll issue the determination to you in the very near future.
Okay, thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You're welcome. Good night. Okay. This notice of intent for 47 Lakeshore. Proposed work includes a single-family home renovation addition, driveway, septic system upgrade, water line connections in the buffer zone of vegetated wetlands. And the applicant, James Scotland.
Yep, that's
Are
me, and
you
I'm
here?
here. I am here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. I've been in touch with the folks at Whitman and Bingham, who were kind enough to send me, copies of all the materials and including this plan. I have not been to the site, but it looks, again, relatively straightforward. The house, is the existing house going to be eliminated?
No, just the left-hand side of it, which is in very poor repair.
Okay, so where it says renovated house, there's a house, some semblance of a house there now?
Yes, there is.
Okay, so it's going to be a partial renovation.
That is correct.
Okay, I see in Lakeshore. Okay. Where is the existing driveway?
It is to the right-hand side. And then there's one that goes down around the back. There's a 2-car garage underneath, and that goes to the left-hand side.
Oh, okay. So is it,
So our attempt was just to push the driveway over a little bit further left and come in with a side
right?
underneath instead of going all the way around to the back.
So it says existing drive under garages.
Mhm.
Is that where the garage is now?
In the back, yep.
And is that also the approximate location of the
Yep.
existing septic system?
Yep, that is correct.
Marshall, you may be looking at it the way I did it first, but where it says existing drive under garages, that's labeling the arrow. Follow the arrow to the house. And it's
Thank
just
you.
the garage.
Thank you.
For a
Okay.
while, I thought there was a garage out there, but I couldn't see it in any of the pictures, and I was
Well,
trying to figure this
that's what I
out.
was trying to figure out was,
Yeah,
um,
that box is not the garage.
okay. All right. But I guess what I was getting at, and then the conclusion is still the same, is that you're moving the septic system away from the wetland.
That is correct. Yep,
Yeah.
we're pushing as far as we can away from the wetland area. And still trying to stay within the confines of the road and the house.
Okay, all right. So from that perspective, it will be an improvement,
Correct.
I think. Okay, very good. That then is the extent of my questions. Anybody else?
Yes, hello?
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Marshall. Stephen Allen Marsh, abutters from lot 28 and 29 next door.
I see it. Yes.
All right, so where I see trees to be removed. Now, the prior owner had gone in there with a backhoe and ripped out a bunch of trees already.
Mm.
And he passed away, sadly. And now I see more trees to be removed. And I'm just wondering, is it totally necessary to remove more trees?
That small,
Go ahead.
that small group of trees would allow the driveway to go underneath instead of going all the way around the back. There's a group, I think, of 3 trees or 4 trees there. But that was nothing on the border between the 2 properties. There was no intent whatsoever to change anything like that.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, we just want to make sure, we're interested in what's going to happen over
Yeah.
there.
Oh, I completely understand.
The place
Completely
has
understand.
been an eyesore and a problem for years. So we're glad to see that you're going to do something with it.
Okay.
thank you.
But thank you, guys. Thanks, folks.
No, comments are most welcome. All right, anything else? All right. Then I will make a motion to close the public hearing for 47 Lake Shore Drive.
Second,
All those in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Bocconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
All right, I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions then per plan and discussion.
Second,
All in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Bocconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Awesome. Okay,
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much.
okay.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you
You're
very
welcome.
much.
And again, we'll get the order out as soon as we can.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, you're welcome. Which may be a while, given the current state of affairs, and Rich's absence, which surgery was last week, so it could be another 4 to 6 weeks before he's back. I spent some quality time at the office today, picking up files, etc., and answering phone messages. So we'll see how that goes.
Is that the kind of thing, can the land use secretary kind of do some of that clerical work, or?
Yeah, I did speak with Heather, and she's alerted me to some things like reviewing building permit applications that we have to sign off on, things like that. And I made a listing of the phone messages we received. I'll have to look them over, and maybe there's something I can pass along to some of you. But I did, however, one thing, Chris, which has nothing to do per se with the Concom, but I picked up 3 years worth of forest cutting plans, which we had talked about relative to the open space and recreation plan. And you were interested in maybe going through those and figuring out how much land area had been subjected to forest cuttings over the last few years.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if we needed to go through the papers, since Lorraine had a website that showed, kind of mapped it out, which in some ways would be better because there's some cutting that's on there that would be picked up by satellites that's not in the forest cutting plans.
Right.
But we could check them. Yeah, I could flip through those and just kind of ground truth it and make sure the satellites caught it all. But satellite looked like the maps they showed. And if people are interested, I can dig up the website. It was a really cool website that showed color coded any place on Earth, but zoom in on Ashburnham and it was color coded where logging's happened in the last 5 years, 10 years, 20 years.
Oh.
It was pretty cool.
Well, if anything, then maybe the hard copies would, serve to help confirm,
Yeah.
what you're seeing visually.
Yeah. Are those all in the office that are in a folder, or did you pull them out to look at?
Actually, I brought them home. Yeah, I know. Town hall is supposedly opening up on June 1st. I don't know quite what that means. I also don't know what that means for, the future of our meetings as we sit here right now. I know that there are measures in the state legislature to allow the continuation of, these kinds of meetings. I don't know whether they'll happen in time or whether or not we'll be forced to actually look at one another in person. I just have to see the way it goes. So anyway, Chris, what I can do, if you like, I could return that file, put it back on, I'll put it right on Rich's desk, and then you can stop by whenever.
Yeah, no rush. I probably won't in the next week because I've got something else, but late
That's
next
fine.
week I can take a look at it.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll just leave them on Rich's desk right on top, and right. I mean, today the doors are locked at town hall, but I assume as of June 1st, they'll be open, and it won't be a big deal.
I was thinking of somebody at the last meeting said how nice it has been to be able, that he could be home. He was one of the engineers, I think, said it was really, really nice, and then he could just go catch dinner. So I hope they'll agree to, like, if we're all in town hall, I would like to see somebody who's got to drive an hour away just kind of appear on a computer screen. We can talk to them, and they don't have to waste 2 hours driving.
Yeah, no, that would be good. I think, for the most part, that most people have been, favorable for this kind of, you don't have to leave the home, you don't have to drive anywhere, save a lot of time, but we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
I only have two other things. In looking back, I'm not sure that we approved the minutes of March 22nd. So even if we did, I'm going to do it again. Move that we approve the minutes of March 22nd.
Second,
All in favor? Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
I wasn't.
You
here
weren't there,
when
so
either.
you abstained.
Chris Piccone, I think I was there.
Yeah, I don't know if I was there or not either.
Well, if you vote
But
yes,
if I was, I approve.
yeah, well, that's all right. I'll crush your name off the list if you weren't. Okay, and the only other thing, we got an email from Ava Lauer with DCR. She is a forestry assistant with the Forest Legacy Program, and offering her assistance for any upcoming monitoring visits.
Yeah, I got that one too. It's I think DCR hires temporary people, and so they tend to move on. But they're people who can just help you with conservation restriction monitoring. So a couple of years ago, a guy came out, Ben Engel, and so he and I walked on Sally Thoma's property, and it's kind of nice because they'll often fill out the conservation monitoring form for you, take some pictures, they do it right. So I'm happy to. I'll get in touch with her sometime, maybe this summer, set up something because we're responsible to monitor Sally Thoma's old land, which she doesn't own it anymore, but we still call it Sally Thoma's land.
Right. Yeah.
And I usually do the property adjacent to it same day. But
and is the Russell Hill property also a forest legacy? I'd have to check with Gary.
I feel like that one doesn't have a conservation restriction on it. I think it's just.
Oh, it's
town
owned.
land. I think
Right.
the town just owns it, but I think
That's
Bush Hill does. And Gary does that monitoring, and I think he does it for the Concom, I guess. I don't know. Must be for actually, no, town owns Bush Hill, so
That's
I
right.
don't know. I don't know who
Well,
has the conservation restriction. but-
Yes, Sea Snow just did the monitoring for Bush Hill.
So maybe the
Um,
trust has the CR like monitoring responsibility, even though the town owns the land.
Yeah. All right. Well, I will run this by Gary anyway, but you know, if you just want to touch base with that'd be great.
Yeah, I've got her email.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
I did. I almost wrote to you and Rich last weekend because do you remember the property on Willard Road where a guy started digging out a wetland, and so Rich went and said, "Don't do that." And then
I
Chris
do.
Mossman was brought in.
I do. Yes.
So I was going by last Saturday, and there was a heavy equipment dumping soil back right onto the wetland. So I said, you know what? I'm not going to call Marshall and Rich. I'm just going to go approach them myself. And so I marched right down there and got my finger ready to wag. But it turns out they were putting in the wetland mix. So in theory, it was. I haven't gone back to their NOI, but it was. They said it was a wetland mix, and they seemed on the up and up. So
They were putting soil in there?
they were putting soil in the wetland, but they said it was a wetland mix. So.
And this is if you go up your road, it's on the right-hand side?
Yeah, almost immediate. Yeah, very, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So I didn't remember if it was part of their NOI to add a little soil in there. They did dig things out quite a bit. They removed a lot of the invasives and just kind of.
this is where they built some sort of retaining wall?
Yeah. The DPW said, go ahead, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So they made they made a little channel for the water flow, a little wall walled off that channel.
Okay.
I think they said, they were going to put the wetland mix down in the fall, but nothing would have grown, so they wanted to put it now. So they seemed like they were doing it legally. I think they're okay, but in case anybody called that in and said, "Oh, this looks illegal," I wanted to give you guys a heads up.
Do we know if there was a seed mix in there, or whether it was just soil?
They called it wetland mix. I didn't get down and dig into it. So.
Chris Mossman was the one that represented them?
Yeah, and they said they worked with Chris for this. So.
All right, so I will send him an email and say what's going on. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Tomorrow is the second and last listening session for the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness and Hazard Mitigation Plan from 5 to 6. I spent all day yesterday and half of last night editing, commenting upon the report, sending them back to Power Corporation. So hopefully after this listening session and based on whatever comments they hear tomorrow, plus mine, they'll be producing a final report in the next couple of weeks.
I appreciated your comments that you sent to us on their report. I appreciate the detail you went through it, and I agreed with everything. Agreed with your sentiment.
Yeah. Never again. So I can say, when the Board of Selectmen asked me, gee, Marcia, how would you like to be the, no, been there, done that. I'll decline. But anyway, and the other exciting news is you probably didn't heard that Andrew called me last week. I think it was last week about a Blandings turtle on Ashby Road, just above Camp Winnicky. So he babysat for the turtle while I drove over there and got some, photos and stuff. Natural Heritage Program has a new protocol for, and I think software system for entering information about these observations. So I will be doing that in the near future, and hopefully, they'll add it to their database and perhaps expand one of their priority habitat maps to include this area.
Was
Yep.
it like a mature one? Was it a male
Oh,
or
yeah.
female?
Oh,
Yeah, female. Very
Yeah.
mature.
Female. That's exciting.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It was just about to cross the road. I mean, is that right? It wasn't in the road.
No, it was on the white line. When my wife notified me that there was a turtle, so I went down and then I moved him off the white line until Marsha, was able to make it.
So
He wasn't very cooperative though.
No, we put her on the other side of the road, the direction she was going, well down the embankment near the wetland. So hopefully we won't find her again per se.
Yep.
So anyway, so that's 2 in the last couple of years.
Yep.
We found the other one up on Ringe Road, where Old Ashby Road crosses the Ringe Turnpike.
Yep.
So they're definitely in there.
I actually went back and found the original photos from the one we found on Ringe.
Yep.
And it was, I think, May 11th, 2017.
Yeah, almost to the day, wasn't it?
Almost, yeah. Almost.
Yeah, so she's looking for a nesting site.
Yep. Yeah, and where she was headed, I mean, there's plenty of wetlands for her to get into. So
Right.
yeah. So
Well,
good,
also, I think
find.
there's probably, it's a scattered upland wetland mix. So, hopefully she'll find a sandy area that be easily dug out. But anyway, that was interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick MVP question, if we can come back to that for a second.
Yes.
'Cause I probably wasn't going to go to the listening session since I went to the last one.
Yep.
But maybe I would have, because it occurred to me, the drainage at the bottom of Willard, there's where the rail trail meets Willard. Remember how the rail trail is really wet in there?
Right.
And so I always assumed that somebody dug out the old rail bed and that's why it's so low and wet. But then I was talking with Chris Gagnon last weekend. He did a tour of the mills and he got talking about rails. And he said they would have dug it out to make a nice flat rail bed. And that's why it's dug out. And then they dumped all that stuff on the side. And he said they would have had excellent drainage in the day when the railroads ran. So that got me thinking, so what's probably been happening then is just drainage is plugging up there where the water used to flow under Willard Road. It's plugging up and backing up and flooding the old railroad system. So I got to wondering, that'd be an expensive repair for DPW to kind of go back and clean out the culvert and whatever is under there. But could that be something included maybe in an MVP, as it's a risky situation if we get more flooding in there, and so you include it so that way it could be funded down the road.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a number of culverts in town.
So maybe it doesn't need to be mentioned explicitly, since
are probably undersized. I mean, if you look at the old 84 flood maps, you can see where just before the waterway goes under a culvert, there's a backwater effect of flooding. Maybe in that particular instance, it's not really enough that it's going to flood out the road or anything else, but nonetheless, you're probably right. That's why it's so wet in there.
Yeah.
I mean, for all I know, the whole culvert's collapsed underneath, and it's probably just trickling through the rocks.
And Sally Tomey used to say that when she moved in, it was just a narrow little, you come down Willard and it was a narrow strip, and then it just got wider and wider from all the sand, road sand just getting plowed in.
Yeah.
Deposited after many years. So you talk to the old timers to kind of appreciate how things have changed around here. Yeah.
Right, right. Yeah, well, that's, you know, once we get this thing finalized and we become to a point where we're eligible to, you know, file for actual, you know, action grants, then, you know, but before we do that, we'll have to, whoever that is, you know, prioritize what it is that, you know, we want to file for.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that the first priority is going to be the removal of the Whitney Pond Dam.
Mm.
Um,
And the septic pump thing down by that same area of town. It seemed like that was a high priority.
well, you know, I looked at that. You mean right by Oakmont High School?
Yeah, it seemed like that kept coming up as a big concern. But
Is that a sewer pump station?
that's the impression I had, that it pushes the sewage out of
Because
there.
there's also a sewer pump station on Puffer Street by Flow Chemical.
Oh. Huh. I didn't
That
know.
one actually is in the floodplain, whereas the one by Oakmont is not.
Huh. Okay.
Um,
Maybe it's because the one by Oakmont is simply lower elevation overall, though. It was in kind of one of the lowest sections
Yeah.
of town down there. Maybe that's why.
but and you know, you're right. Everybody spoke about that, but
Yeah.
when you look at the plan, it's not really subject to flooding, and which
Huh.
would lead one to believe that the culvert really probably isn't undersized. Anyway, but the idea is, and I don't know what the status of the Whitney Pond Dam is. That's another thing that kind of fallen by the wayside while I do all these other things. But somebody needs to check in with PAR about, you know, what the status is of the permitting process and when it's going to be done. And, you know, hopefully it will be ready to go by the time we're done with the MVP, and we'll be able to, you know, move ahead with that. But anywho, okay, so
Just sorry, just to be clear, for next meeting, we're still within the executive order for doing remote meetings. Are we doing it remote, or are we doing it at the town hall?
I'm not sure. You know, it depends, I guess, on, in part, on what Brian determines. You know, when they say town hall is open on June 1st, I don't know what that means.
Okay.
I mean, I know they're investigating, Mary and others in town hall, alternatives to Zoom. Is Microsoft something?
Teams?
Yes, thank you. Which unfortunately I can't do because Microsoft locked my account. You know, I guess I looked up too many turtles, something I know. And it's a kind of thing that it's almost virtually impossible to find a way to get it unlocked. They say, oh, your account is locked. You need to do this, you do that, you notify them, and we'll get right back to you. Well, that was 6 months ago. And of course, phone calls are impossible. So, because they never give you a number to call. So I don't know whether that will ever work for me. But anyway, it's being investigated.
Okay.
But if I find out, you know, and I will find out before the next meeting, you know, how we're going to do this. So, and hopefully, again, I much prefer this than stepping outside. So we'll see. Okay. So, anything else? Pray for rain, please.
Yeah.
My blueberries could could use a good, good rainstorm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. All right, the meeting minutes for the 10th are almost done. You'll get those shortly, and but otherwise we're up to date. And
Very good.
I will before the end of the week, I'll leave all those forest cutting plans back on Rich's desk for you to pick up whenever you want.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
that, as things come in, I'll let you know, but otherwise, I think we're good. All right, folks.
Very
Okay,
good.
thank you.
Okay, wait a minute. I have 7:20. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor, Marshall Dennis, aye.
Ann O'Connor, aye.
Kristen Godfrey, aye.
Chris Paconi, aye.
Andrew Henderson, aye.
Okay, it's a done deal. See you, folks.
Have a great week, guys.
Yeah, you too.
Take care.
Yep. End the meeting.